There once was a boy who was obsessed with video games. From the moment he woke up until the moment his parents made him go to bed, he would sit in his dark bedroom killing enemy after enemy. He never played a game that he couldn't beat, until one day, a strange game appeared on his screen. A game that he didn't remember buying. In it, you were a strong hero with a sword, running through a medieval village, slaying ugly little goblins. But as the boy got farther in the game, more and more hordes of goblins attacked, until they eventually overwhelmed him. Then they would laugh, a high-pitched goblin laugh, mocking him. The boy became consumed by the challenge of killing every last goblin. But even though he spent every moment he could playing the game, it was never enough. The goblins always won. He needed more time to play. When his parents came to wake him up for school, he pretended to be sick so he could stay home and play the game. He played the game all day and all night. The next morning, his eyes had heavy bags and his skin was sickly pale. His parents told him to stay home from school another day, so he kept on playing. For 2 days, the boy didn't eat or sleep or get out of bed. All he did was destroy laughing goblin after laughing goblin, becoming more and more obsessed with each kill. Finally, as the sun rose on the 3rd day, he defeated the final horde and won the game. Before he could celebrate, the screen went to black. Then, a single goblin appeared on the screen, laughing at him. The boy tried to get up to get a closer look, but his legs wouldn't move. He looked down, and to his horror, his legs were disintegrating into tiny little pixels. He tried to scream, but before he could, his whole body pixelated, and he felt himself being sucked into the screen. When the boy came to, he found himself staring at his darkened room. He slowly turned around to see a medieval village. He was inside the game. Now he could play forever. But before he could hunt for goblins, he heard a clicking sound behind him, like controller buttons being smashed. He turned around and looked closer through the television screen. It wasn't his darkened room. It was another kid's room. A kid who was staring intensely at the screen, mashing buttons on her controller. The boy was confused. If she was the one playing the game, why was he inside of it? The game only had one hero, and they couldn't both be in control. With a growing sense of dread, the boy grabbed a silver shield and looked at his reflection. Staring back at him wasn't the hero's strong face. In fact, it wasn't a face at all. Just a pair of large, red eyes surrounded by fur. He was a goblin. There had to be some mistake. He shuffled around, desperately looking for some way out of this nightmare. Then suddenly, he heard boots pounding towards him. The hero rushed through the village, sword in hand, headed right for him. The boy cried out to the girl, begging her to stop playing. But the only sound that came out was a little goblin laugh. It was a beautiful day by the lake. There were picnics, games, and laughter all around. A group of children played by the water. They dared each other to swim past the warning signs to the deepest part of the lake and bring back a handful of mud to prove they could reach the bottom. Only one girl had the courage to take the plunge. And sure enough, she marched right into the water. The other kids watched in astonishment as she swam past the signs warning swimmers. No lifeguard on duty. No swimming past this area. And finally, danger of death. She reached the middle of the lake. There was no bottom in sight, only darkness. She looked back at the kids, now only specks on the shore. She reminded herself that she wasn't scared. She took a huge gulp of air and swam down to the dark, mucky water, full of slimy plants and fish that brushed past her. She kept swimming. Strangely, The farther down she swam, the brighter it got. And even stranger, as if by magic, it became easier for her to hold her breath. She finally saw the bottom of the lake. As she reached out to grab a handful of mud, what she discovered was unbelievable. They looked like some kind of fish people, and there were a lot of them. They had scaly skin, gills, and webbed hands. They were playing games, and everyone was happy. The surprised girl let out a gurgly yelp. Immediately, all the fish eyes were on her. Before she could move, one of the fish people waved her over, and the others gave her a gurgly, "Hello, welcome, come play." She waved back to the fish people, and then raced to the surface to tell the other kids about what she saw. She excitedly explained about the fish people, but they didn't believe any of it. She hadn't even grabbed the mud from the bottom of the lake to prove she'd been there. The children taunted her for lying. They told her she should go play with her new fish friends as they left to play somewhere else. Who needs them anyway, thought the girl. I have new friends who do want to play with me. And with that, the girl ran back into the lake, swam into the deep, and through the mucky water to where the fish people played. They welcomed her back. But the magic of her lasting breath started to fade. She quickly scooped up a handful of mud and waved goodbye to her new friends. Their friendly faces contorted into vicious smiles, revealing rows and rows of tiny sharp teeth. The fish people began to surround her. "Don't go. Stay for lunch," the fish people said as they moved in closer. But the girl couldn't hold her breath any longer. She swam as quickly as she could towards the surface, but the fish people chased her. She glanced back to the crowd of hungry-looking creatures, moving closer and closer. Whop! A webbed hand grabbed her ankle. "Help!" she screamed into the water, using the last of her breath. The fish person pulled the girl down into the water. She thrashed and swatted at the creature, losing her handful of mud in the process. She was so close, she could see the surface of the water. The girl kicked her leg free with all the strength she had left and swam to the shore as fast as she could. The other kids noticed the out-of-breath girl. "What's the matter? Your fish friend's not playing nice?" She looked at them hauntingly, and with a dreadful chill in her voice, she said, "You don't have to believe me. Just never, ever go to the deep." There once was a boy who was so excited to finally see a real hypnotist show. But when he got to the theater, it was sold out. Holding back tears, he turned to go, but when he saw someone drop their ticket, he picked it up and made his way into the theater. The hypnotist welcomed everyone to the show and peered into the audience, looking for a brave volunteer. The boy's hand eagerly shot up into the air, and the hypnotist beckoned him to the stage. He watched as the hypnotist took out a rusty pocket watch. He methodically dangled the pocket watch in front of the boy's eyes. The hypnotist counted to 3, snapped his fingers, and said, "You're now completely under my control." The boy got lightheaded. The hypnotist instructed the boy to cluck like a chicken. To the woozy boy, that seemed like the most normal request in the world. He clucked and clucked. The audience started howling with laughter. The hypnotist snapped his fingers to wake the boy from his trance. He told the boy what a great job he had done, but the boy couldn't remember a thing. The audience applauded again, and the hypnotist sent the boy back to his seat. That night, the boy had strange dreams. He was wandering around his house while everyone was asleep, looking for something. Then, suddenly, he was back in the hypnotist theater, and the hypnotist was reaching out his hand and laughing. The next morning, the boy felt groggy, as if he had barely slept. He hardly noticed that his mother was frantically opening drawers throughout the house. Her favorite necklace was missing. She wore it every day as it was a gift from her mother. The boy tried to help her look, but something felt wrong. It was as if every time he thought about the necklace, his mind went blank. The boy walked by his dad's study and looked at his dad's prized baseball, signed by Babe Ruth himself. He had always thought the baseball was cool, but now he suddenly had a desperate urge to take it. He quickly left the room. That night, he had another strange dream. He was in his father's study, staring at the baseball. He took off the glass cover and picked it up. Suddenly, he was in the theater again, throwing the baseball to the hypnotist. The boy woke up to his dad screaming that someone had stolen his prized baseball. The boy noticed muddy track marks leading into his room from the window. The boy was terrified, thinking that someone had broken into the house, until he realized that the tracks led to his own shoes. Suspecting he might still be hypnotized, the tired and scared boy made his way to the theater to find out the truth. When he entered, there was the hypnotist, laughing and admiring the baseball. The boy screamed and went to grab it, but the hypnotist just snapped his fingers, and the boy felt lightheaded again. The hypnotist told the boy to forget that any of this had happened. He instructed him to go home and continue to follow his instructions. To the boy, this seemed like the most reasonable request in the world. The next morning, the boy woke up to his parents frantically talking to the police. Someone had stolen their wallets in the middle of the night. The boy shuddered. Who could have done such a thing? It was a brisk fall day. The bright red and orange leaves on the trees of Oak Brook Preparatory School stood out against the constantly cloudy sky. The popular girls all giggled as they walked effortlessly down the hallway. Their plaid skirts were all perfectly pressed. Their hair was perfectly bouncy. Jessica looked at them longingly from her locker. She wanted to be friends with them, to stride confidently across the quad, to talk to boys, and most of all, to go to their famous popular girls' sleepovers. Jessica never seemed to be quite able to pull off being popular. She always wore not quite the right skirt, and pinned her hair back not quite the right way. When Margaret, one of the bubbliest, most popular girls in school, sat next to Jessica in science class, Jessica was overjoyed. Then, when they were paired up for a project, Jessica was ecstatic. Jessica was shy at first, but after a while, she and Margaret actually hit it off. She got Margaret laughing, and Margaret regaled Jessica with tales from her life in the popular clique, like how they all carried an extra lip gloss just in case someone forgot theirs. When the class was over, Margaret asked Jessica if she wanted to sit with her group for lunch. It was finally happening. Jessica was finally going to sit with the popular girls. The girls made friendship bracelets and showed each other pictures of their horses. These girls had horses, but they barely even touched their lunches. Jessica thought that was weird, but she still had fun. For the next couple weeks, Jessica sat with them at lunch every day. On a rare sunny day, Jessica asked the girls if they wanted to eat outside. They gasped. The girls stammered and said it was bad for their skin. Jessica was sad to miss out on the sun, but she didn't want to be kicked out of the group, so she stayed with them in the cafeteria. No matter how strangely the popular girls acted, Jessica was so desperate to be liked by her new friends that she kept her comments to herself. And it worked. The popular girls really started to like her. Margaret invited Jessica to their big sleepover and said that they wanted to do a friendship ceremony to officially induct Jessica into their group. That Friday night, Jessica was ready for the best night of her life, but instead of playing games like Truth or Dare, the girls went outside to count how many bats they could find. And no matter how late it got, there was no sign of anyone going to sleep. How were they not exhausted? When was the friendship ceremony supposed to happen? Just when it was so late that Jessica could barely even keep her eyes open, Margaret announced that it was time for the main event of the night, the friendship ceremony. Margaret told Jessica that they wanted her to officially be part of their group for deathless eternity. It sounded like they were talking about something more than being BFFs. Margaret explained that the popular girls were all vampires, and they wanted to make Jessica a vampire too. Jessica shuddered with fear. It all made sense now. They wouldn't go in the sun. They wouldn't eat regular food. They looked down on anyone who wasn't one of them. They stayed up all night. The girls were all staring at Jessica, waiting for her answer. Finally, Jessica whispered, "No." Margaret asked again, "I never want to be a vampire." The lights flicked on. All the girls laughed. Margaret said it was just a sleepover prank. Jessica pretended to laugh along with them, but after that, the popular girls never talked to Jessica again. Every time Jessica would see them, sitting in the cafeteria in their perfectly pressed plaid skirts, not eating lunch, Jessica would think back to that night in the basement. No matter how much time passed, Jessica couldn't shake the feeling that that night in the basement hadn't been a prank at all. Lisa and her family cheerfully chatted as they ate their dinner. Her little brother, Oliver, secretly fed his peas to the dog as their dad went on one of his usual monologues about the magic of modern technology. He was always buying the craziest new gadgets. Tonight, he was showing off his electric dinner platter. Oliver, done feeding the dog, leans back in his chair and puts his feet up on the table. Lisa's mom knocks his feet off, making it clear that she's tired of Lisa and Oliver breaking the rules all the time. Lisa's dad warned Oliver that if he didn't start following the rules, they were going to have to replace him with the robot boy he found in one of his tech catalogs. Everyone laughed. Then, Oliver and Lisa race each other to the bathroom to brush their teeth. Lisa won, like she does every night. The next night at dinner, Oliver puts his feet up on the table. Lisa started to laugh and looked over at her parents, expecting them to be laughing too. But this time, they weren't. Their faces were stone cold. Lisa and Oliver both quiet down. Oliver takes his feet off the table, and they all eat the rest of their dinner in silence. Lisa and Oliver don't race to the bathroom that night. As they silently brush their teeth, Lisa can't shake the feeling of her parents' cold stare. Suddenly, the door creaks open, and her mother reaches into the bathroom, grabbing Oliver by the arm. She looks at Lisa with her usual bright smile and says, "Sweet dreams," before dragging Oliver out of the bathroom. The next morning, things feel normal again. As Lisa and Oliver walk to school, Lisa tries switching lunches with Oliver, like they do every day, but Oliver refuses. He tells Lisa that their parents had said not to switch lunches. Lisa thought that was weird. It had never bothered Oliver before. Lisa's lunch that day tastes boring. She misses the surprise sandwich and the thrill of reading the note that was meant for Oliver. Why was Oliver all of a sudden following every silly rule? On the way home from school, Lisa is determined to have fun with her brother. She tries to get him to play on their neighbor's tire swing. She tries to get him to splash around in puddles. She even tries to get him to stop at his favorite candy store. But Oliver won't do any of it. He just keeps saying the same thing. Our parents told us not to. They walk home in silence. It was a warm day, so Lisa takes off her jacket, then reaches over to help Oliver take off his. Oliver hits her hand away. Their parents told him never to take off his jacket. This shocks Lisa. Something was different about Oliver. Something was wrong, but he won't tell her what it is. That night, dinner is silent. Oliver doesn't sneak his vegetables to the dog or put his feet up on the table. By the time dinner is over, Lisa had enough of this. She wanted the old Oliver back. She wanted things to be like they were the day before. Lisa doesn't even try to race Oliver to the bathroom. But while they are brushing their teeth, she gets an idea. Oliver could never turn down a splash fight. She splashes some water from the sink at him and closes her eyes, bracing for him to return fire. But he doesn't. Lisa opens her eyes. Oliver is still staring straight ahead. He is totally still except for his hand, which is twitching a little, right where the water had hit it. The panic floods back into Lisa's body, stronger than before. She had to know what was going on with Oliver. She reaches over and pulls up the sleeve of his jacket. Underneath the jacket, where Oliver's arm should have been, are a bunch of tangled wires and computer chips. Her parents weren't joking when they said they were going to replace Oliver with a robot. They really did it. Suddenly, Lisa's mom was standing at the bathroom door with her cold stare. Lisa freezes with terror, then quickly pulls down Oliver's sleeve. Her mother nods approvingly and says, "Sweet dreams." After that day, Lisa never broke the rules again.